Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Poisoner's Almanac. I am your co-host, Adam.
I'm Rebecca.
Was that your NPR? I'm Rebecca. Thursdays at 4.
I'm over here like, oh God, I need to clear my throat. I'm Rebecca.
How are you today? Excuse me.
Cold.
It's very chilly.
It's been annoying because it's here in Georgia. We do this every year though. I should know better. It's like you have like fake seasons. Like
It's
both
true.
fall and spring both have fake sides to them. So we get like maybe a week of winter typically. This year we got a little more. We actually got snow this year.
We did.
I'm not sure if that's good or indicative of something not good, but yeah, we got today it was like 35 when we woke up, like degrees Fahrenheit when we woke up, and it has been like in the 60s by like 11-ish, so it was just extra chilly this morning, and I was like, I do not want to get up. And neither did my daughter, but we got to school on time because she's had a rough time with school this year. She does not want to be there. There have been mornings of tears. We are trying to work out a situation that hopefully makes it less miserable for her. So working on that. But this morning was, she got there on time. I was like, you cannot be late anymore. You've had 4 tardies since Christmas. So yeah, so we're doing our best.
Yeah. Yesterday evening, the wind was blowing like 30 miles an hour.
It was rough, yeah.
And it wasn't that cold, but the wind made it so cold.
Well, I was driving a Jeep last night too, like to and from this thing that I went to.
Yes.
And like, it's like the soft top because I'm borrowing my mother's Jeep for a bit. And it just, in the wind, it's just like, it just shakes. Everything shakes.
It's like a tent on the side of a mountain.
I mean, I love it. I love driving it. I've always loved Jeeps, but
you'll be loving the Jeep driving until you die.
Jeeps are like the Legos of cars, right? Because like you can just take pieces off, put different pieces on. I like them. I think they're pretty cool.
They're modular.
Yeah. So
speaking of the thing we went to last night, it was at a charter school.
Yeah.
That is not far from our house. That excuse me. That we may be able to get Camilla into. Not sure yet. It's a kind of a lottery situation. You put your child's name in, and it's a random selection. So, but we met 2 of our listeners and their 2 children in person at that event last night.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Small world.
Akash and Tasha. Tasha says that it's Tosh and Kosh.
Tosh and Kosh. That's actually pretty fun.
Surf and turf.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were delightful to meet. It was so just I was like just smiling so much actually meeting listeners in person. It was so strange. I'm like, you guys are real. You're not bots who send us voicemails.
Well, and I will say it felt nice, like knowing that there was somebody else there that, like, even though I'd never met before in person, like I kind of knew because of this, because there were so many people at this thing. And at first I was like, oh, there's not that many people here. And then like 20 people walked in the door. And I was like, why do I do this to myself? So that was nice to sort of, and like, I felt so awkward because I'm just like trying, like, you ever do like the tism around like people and you're just like, don't look suspicious. Don't look suspicious.
Don't look suspicious.
And like, why are you doing that thing? Don't do that thing. People are going to think you're weird. You know, like you're constantly checking your behavior because you're worried people are going to be like, what's wrong with
you? Pull out your mental checklist for social situations. And the first item on the list is don't be autistic.
Well, part of it too is like the social anxiety that I deal with. And so it's like, I'm constantly doing something with my hands. I'm constantly, moving my leg 100 miles an hour, constantly like rocking back and forth without thinking.
And then when I walked in later because I was coming from work, and like I see you in a social situation from a distance, and like I'm walking into the building and I spot you, and I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I got here for her sake. And you look so cute. Like your outfit was so cute and your hair looked wonderful and your makeup and everything. Like you just look so.
Yeah, I actually tried last night. I wore makeup for the first time in like a month.
You just look so together. And but it's so funny but I know for a fact, like there's a there's a 5-alarm fire going on inside that woman.
Yeah, there's a little person running around with like a torch on fire.
Yes.
That's all I see in my head.
Yes. But yeah, it was really great to meet Akash and Tosh and their 2 little adorable kids. Camilla was playing with them immediately.
Mm-hmm.
They were running full speed as soon as I showed up from the moment we left. I don't recall them actually standing still.
Well, that tracks for Camilla anyway. So yeah, it's true. But it was very nice.
Yes.
To meet them. Very nice people.
Tasha recognized the shopping center that we got ice cream at.
Yeah.
From a video that we did. And she was like, wait a minute. Is that the place with the thing? She's like, no, there's no way. And then one thing led to another. She messaged you. I think she DM'd you somehow. And then she was like, wait a minute. You guys live here? We live here.
Yeah, it's a total sort of a small world. I hate saying that because it's not really a very small world. But I get like you're saying it because it's small enough that things happen like that.
Yes. Well, that definitely feels that way because all the whole listenership is spread. I mean, across the world, we have people on the other side of the planet listening to this podcast, which is wild to me still. But that's the effect of the digital age, the internet age. The world is just smaller. We know about something that happens on the other side of the planet 30 seconds after it happens.
This is probably the ADHD, but speaking of the digital world, have you heard there's like cases of dysentery in Oregon right now? I'm not laughing because it's funny, because it's not funny.
Be on the Oregon Trail or no?
Well, the Oregon Trail is what leads to Oregon, right? Like you're on the Oregon Trail because you're trying to...
Part of it's in Oregon. You're trying to reach the Willamette Valley.
Oh, okay.
Trust me, I know these things.
Yeah, I never made it.
Listen, as an extremely good Oregon Trail player in 1992, some of the trail is in Oregon.
I never made it.
You never made it?
No.
Okay, we're going to buy the game today.
I got like
you need to beat that game.
I got distracted like shooting rabbits and getting my kids kept getting carried off by hawks and crap.
Oh, that's so good. I didn't know you never. I never knew you never beat Oregon Trail.
Might have got lost a few times trying to ford that stupid river.
Yes,
fording the rivers.
I'm trying to ford the river, and
my oxen died. You know how sad I was over that oxen? Ox?
I found...
Ox.
It's oxen.
Well, 2 of them are oxen.
Okay, that's the plural. So I watched a documentary about the creation of that game. It was so interesting. It was built by 2 guys who are teachers, and they were just trying to put something together for their history class.
Yeah.
That was it.
Well, maybe y'all got to play more because we got to play like only if we were good in school.
I'm sorry.
So.
What was your teacher's name? Miss Trenchbull?
Yes, Miss Trenchbull. God.
Man, I didn't know you never beat that game. Okay.
So much is missing from my life. I'm gonna talk to my therapist about it today. And she's younger than me, so she's probably like,
she's like, what is that?
And I'll just get up. I won't say anything. I'll just get up and leave.
She's going to be like, tell me more about that. Anyway, so yeah, we got to meet Akash and Tosh. That was really fun. Also, I have to apologize to the listenership. You guys have been leaving us voicemails. I have not been getting them in my email inbox because the iOS update for the iPhone, it has reformatted how you receive your emails. If you use the Apple email app, it does not populate your inbox like chronologically. Like it stacks emails in groups. And so literally the SpeakPipe address has not shown up in my inbox for like ever since that update. 3 weeks. So we're going to play one today.
Apple?
So shut up, Wesley. So yeah, we're gonna play one today. We're gonna get back on schedule with that. My apologies, folks. Also, just a little tidbit, little teaser, little trailer, little preview. We will be expanding to video. in the near future.
What does the near future mean?
I don't know. I'm being nebulous
Oh my
on purpose.
God, why are
So
you
I'm
like
not
this?
required. I'm not required to come through on a particular date. I'm not
No,
putting a
I need
deadline
to
on it.
know these things. I need to
You
know.
will know. You will know.
Well, I don't yet.
We are going to have a conversation where we actually talk about the thing that I'm announcing right now.
A conversation in this economy?
Yes.
Wow.
We're going to talk it through.
Is there a tariff on that?
Yes.
Do I have to pay it?
It's retaliatory. Yes, you do.
Dang it.
Because you're not an elected official.
Dadgummit.
So we're going to expand to video. So there's going to be a brand new YouTube channel and a TikTok. Excuse me.
I can't say anything. I'm the one trying to get the TikTok together, and I got distracted with trying to do the Linktree thing, and then I found this cute little picture, and then I got distracted from there.
Oh my God.
And so,
Rebecca,
I'm getting there.
we just need to have a work day together for the podcast.
I need a body double, you know?
But
I need like somebody to sit there and remind me that I'm worthless if I don't get this done.
yes. Okay. Seeing your therapist today, good. Okay, because you're swinging low. No, I love how the first that I'm hearing of you actually trying to make that TikTok and that Linktree is a story of how you got distracted and completely didn't do it.
Well, it's because my brain doesn't want to tackle the Linktree thing because it's new to me, and I'm like, what if I suck at this? And so my brain is like, you know what we don't suck at?
This is
puppy pictures.
Oh my God. This is, guys, she's describing her existence in just a few sentences just now.
Yeah.
So
sent my book out to an agent though. What was that?
My breath caught in my throat. I meant to gasp and it caught in my throat.
I didn't mean to kill you.
I gotta get a cough drop. Can you tell the people about you sending your book off to a literary agent?
Yes.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Well, like my friend Erin, like she was like, well, I can keep you accountable. And that both is like awesome. And also at the same time, I'm like, oh no, because I actually, there's actual pressure for me to actually send it. So, but that's a good thing. So I found an agent who accepts these kinds of, stories, this genre, and got the courage up to actually send the thing. Well, and when you send stuff like this, it's like, oh, you gotta, you have to send the sort of like a synopsis or a hook, and you also have to send like this, like not really a cover letter, but like a kind of a cover letter, like just it's like with different like information than a typical cover letter.
Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah. And so like then I'm
going to quietly grab this cough drop.
Oh my God.
Okay. What were you saying?
You're going to hell. Anyway, but like the process is difficult because there's a lot to do for one process. And so like my brain just doesn't want to do that part.
It's new.
Well, but it's like there are several steps. And if there's several steps, my brain is like, ew. Right? So I have to sort of make myself sit down and do step by step. And it does take time. And I have to like kind of reward myself for that. But it's not something my brain wants to do, even though I do want to put my stuff out there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just, yeah. But I did it. I wrote it up. I sent it to one person. I know that's just, it's one person. But hey,
listen,
it's a start.
That makes a total of 2.
Yeah.
Which is bigger than 0.
This is true.
This is progress. You better tell your therapist about this.
Am I already in therapy? Is that what this is?
It is not.
Okay.
But if you would like to pay me as if it is. Okay, never mind. Right. Sorry, I'm just getting the cough drop going. I'm trying to finish my coffee. Pardon me.
Maybe you should do that earlier. Are you drinking coffee with a cough drop?
It's in the side of my mouth. It's okay. It's fine.
That's gross. Is it like menthol coffee?
No, the coffee's not touching the cough drop.
But there's still menthol in your mouth from the cough drop.
Yes. But that's a risk I'm willing to take.
I could never.
The bonus episode is about to be about menthol, folks. You watch.
Actually, like with children, you really shouldn't be putting that near their airways, like small children.
Okay.
So I'm just saying.
Story time. I escaped a religious cult 7 years ago. Without going into too much detail here, let me just say it was an extremely difficult journey. My mental health spiraled downhill, and I thankfully had enough presence of mind to seek out a therapist to work through what was going on with me. My therapist helped give me context to all the wild things I'd walked away from. He was kind, patient, and guided me through what my new normal might look like. I had never had healthy boundaries in my life. Therapy helped show me that as a result of being in a cult or high control group, I had never fully become my own person. It's a shocking thing to learn at the age of 32. I learned how to communicate to the people around me what I was going to do, and more importantly, not do with my time, energy, and resources. BetterHelp is the sponsor of this episode, and they're on a mission to make starting therapy easier. BetterHelp is a platform where therapists and their clients can communicate effectively and get the most out of therapy. There's a journal inside the platform for personal reflection, and there are group sessions on a number of different topics available every day. Starting therapy is easy with BetterHelp. Fill out a questionnaire, and you'll match with a therapist in as little as a couple of days. One of the best features of BetterHelp is that if the first therapist doesn't feel like the right fit, you can easily switch to another one until you find someone you really connect with. They carefully make sure therapists on the platform are well qualified, and their customer support team is there to help if you have any questions. With over 7,000 reviews and a 4.5 rating on Trustpilot, BetterHelp is a platform you can trust. If you're struggling and think you'd benefit from a therapy session, go to betterhelp.com/almanac or choose the Poisoner's Almanac during sign up and get 10% off your first month of therapy. All right. That will bring us to housekeeping for the old podcast. Make sure to follow us on the platform you're listening on. Thank you in advance for leaving 5-star reviews. Those act like a digital tip jar that pushes the podcast further into the algorithm and into the ears of other listeners like yourself who would enjoy it. Follow us on socials. Links in the show notes for those. Follow the podcast Instagram, particularly Poisoners_Almanac. Also, if you're listening on your phone, screenshot on your phone and then post that on socials and tag us in it so that we can see that, and we're going to reshare that. We'd love to see you guys listening in the real world. The Patreon is up and running. Let us know what you'd like to see as far as content on there. The link is in the show notes to join there. You can join as a free member, or you can join as a paid member for, what is it, $1.50 or $1.30?
I don't know. They changed it again?
No. The Apple App Store added a 30% fee.
Apple?
Yeah. To host any app in their app store because they don't already have $400 bajillion.
They got to go back to space or whatever.
Yeah, whatever. So anyways, it's like $1.30 or $1.50 USD to join as a paid patron. And you get access to perks like weekly bonus episodes. You get the option to leave us a voicemail. And also you get shouted out by name on the podcast. And those people are as follows: 87 Pens Girl 71, Mara Santiago, Kate the Fairy, Grace Lahan, Genevieve, Nahev Shatreet, Jay Went, Incan Hafner, Kiri Yorsek, Tay of Sunshine, Monique, Shane R., Sue Steves, James Mills, Megan Geiler, Liz B., Wooly Wolf NZ, Mama G., Nicole Rivers, Richard Miyako, Heather Nolan, Katie Rose, Kaylee, Sasha Rubel, Maya Showstock, Maggie's Yarm, Ogre the Viking, Lynn Rocket, Brett Moser, Zaid, Neil Houdini, Nicole Crane, Jefferson Vargas, Carmen Q, Sarah G., Knittin' Ninja, Estar, Olive Octopus, Betsy Rich, Terrorsaurus Hex, T-Bug, Christine Moljadi, Morgan Brittingham, Blaufrosch, also known as Clara Jurisons, Vix, Anne Maria, Carl Ziegler Jr., Clyde, Jennifer Wilson Richter, Sarah Michelle Geller, Macaulay Sterland, Too Fidgety, Wendy G., Elena MK, Vilma Anderson, Caitlin Martin, Pungrammed 101, Minnesota SPT, Michael McCombs, Tasha, Stuart Slattery, Prim Risen, Simone Valdez, Christian Skradergaard, Maria Anna, Bonnie, Oma D, Rynell Alara, Kristen Arnold, Aaron Carey, Lynn Simpson, Melissa Emmel, Desiree Davis, Jennifer Ramirez Johnson, Dalek Party, The Warped Witch, Sometimes Jules, Mr. Slave, Dizzy Dancer, Creative Otter, Yadmit, Supergirl Sway, Rachel, Anya Brandt, Ebby, Leah Marie Matson, Lady Digitalis, and please welcome our new patrons this week, Jesse, Shay 10, Julia Franzoni, and Sparks. Thank you all so much for supporting the podcast. Send us questions or content suggestions to Instagram with a comment or a DM. Also, leave us a voicemail. I'm going to repost the link in the Patreon.
You can actually be able to see it now.
Yeah. And I'll actually be able to have knowledge of the fact that you have left us a voicemail. And speaking of a voicemail, we have one from our friend Tim Day. So let's check it out.
Patreon. I've been listening to the podcast for a few months now. By the way, my username is just my name, Tim Day, spelled backwards. My question to you folks is, clearly both of you have extensive experience in the healthcare field. You frequently mention little stories about your PT clients, but whenever Rebecca notes nursing info, it seems to be in the past tense. Is she no longer practicing? Does she maintain her nursing certification? My apologies if you all have covered this previously, but I was just curious. Thanks for addressing my question and for doing your good work, especially on the daily Instagram posts, which are enlightening into both Rebecca's world and your relationship. Many thanks, Tim. By the way, Rebecca's rants about how Adam just does things and doesn't think about them are absolutely hilarious. Her outrage is so genuine.
It is.
Thank you so much, Tim. Yeah, to the last point, yes, that it's we basically make videos regarding Becca being autistic, ADHD, and I'm neurotypical. We literally have different brains, and that creates all sorts of interesting things in our relationships.
Yeah, like you just pushing a button and going to sleep at night. Like you literally just like, and now I'm going to sleep. And you lay down and close your eyes and you just do it. You just do it. Like, what is that?
Yep.
Speaking of sleep, I had a dream last night that I was going to a hospital to welcome someone's baby. And there was like a bunch of us. And I'm like, why are we doing this? We don't know these people. And like, but then I learned that they were going to name their kid L'Oreal Paris. And I was like the shampoo. And then I had to catch myself like, okay, don't judge. Maybe they just really like it. And then like the other part of me is like, you're going to do that to your kid? Anyway, so like, that's what's like sleeping for me. Like when I do fall asleep, it's like crazy, wacky dreams of like trying to get somewhere, trying to do something and never like actually getting there or doing the thing. And you just, I'm asleep. And then you wake up and you're just like,
wow, I slept again. Look at that.
It's infuriating, but here we are.
A little bit. I get it. But yeah, Becca is not a nurse currently, but she does maintain.
I'm a nurse. I'm just not working right now.
Yeah, you're not working at the moment.
I sound like that girl from Daria. Anyway. Yeah, I still keep my license, and I still go into a lot of like medical type study and stuff, but working like in the hospital setting, I got really burned out from that. And it just wasn't worth my mental health any longer.
Yes. So when we got married, Becca was working as a nurse full time. The trouble with this in America, the trouble with bedside nursing is that it's a racket. Professional abuse happens every single day on the hospital floor of nurses and of the CNAs and all the staff who support hospital floor functioning.
And you get like, I mean, shoot, you get like, there are patients that come in they'll abuse you too, and like the hospital won't do anything about it. Like that nurse in Florida just had like almost every bone in her face broken by this man. And then, yeah, he had some mental health issues, but like then like who helps her?
Exactly. And I have had a handful of patients myself who are former nurses who have pretty serious injuries from patients. You know, some of them grabbed them by the hair and just started attacking them. You know, torn rotator cuffs, bad back, you know, a knee that needs to be replaced, all that fun stuff. I can't believe there's not a national nurses union. I'm shocked that has not happened.
I know the VA had one when I was working there, but I don't think all of them. I think you have to pay into it, but which is what you do anyway. But I do have some crazy stories. Lots of crazy stories.
You do
that I haven't even told yet, but
they're hysterical.
Yeah.
So yeah, Becca maintains her license, which I would do the same thing if I were in your shoes. Like I don't know, everything I invested to get the license, I would keep it up just because. But yeah, that's the answer to that question.
I also have a bachelor's in middle grades education.
She does.
Not using that one either right now, but here we are. I mean, I even kind of educating, but you know, she's not middle school.
I mean, that's technically true, but we have a 9-year-old daughter.
Yeah, and so
I think you apply that knowledge every day you deal with her.
Yeah, and so and it did help that going after that degree actually helped sort of encourage me writing again too.
Yes,
and that's been a big deal for me.
Yeah, that's an interesting. I'm glad you bring that up because you're going back to school to become a teacher, and you took some upper level English courses, and you thrived.
I loved them.
You loved them so much, and like it was just I didn't recognize it at the time, but it was like the writer in Becca like came alive. One of her professors, this is an upper level English course, full of English majors. One of her professors used Becca's essay as an example of what should have been done.
Well, part of that is because I think a lot of younger people these days too are not actually taught how to write an essay the way you would in a college class for some reason.
Yeah.
And that's sad, but yeah, I enjoyed that class. That class was great. It was critical theory, and it was like going over basic, like going through it, like history. It did a lot with history and literature, and like looking at different theories based on literature and like examples of that and what was going on during history at that time. So
yes,
it was a lot of interesting stuff.
But I remember that time and you being in those classes, and I just now looking back, I see now. Oh, she was like in her lane. Like that was the place she wanted. That was the place her soul wanted to be. So anyways, all right. That's going to bring us to today's subject, which is?
Well, I want to talk about fungi again. Because
you talking about me? Fungi?
No.
Okay.
But, I mean, you're fun. You're not, but you're not as problematic as most of these fun guys are.
Okay.
Get it, fun guys? Fun guys, fun guy.
Keep going. Keep going.
Okay. These fun guy have red flags. And I know.
Isn't it fungi?
It's fungi.
Oh, sorry.
Why are you always correcting me?
I was just trying to mess
I
with
think that's just, that's just, like, that's your neurodivergence.
Oh, okay.
You're a correctophile. That's what you are. You're a correctophile.
A correctophile?
That's what you are.
Did you just make that up?
I did.
Okay.
I don't know. In some parts of the world, it may be fungi. Do people say fungi in some parts? I know here
I actually don't know. I was literally just messing with you.
You would do that.
I would.
And you would do that. I know we've discussed fungi previously, but I believe it's time for a revisit. Just for a recap. Get it? Recap. Because
get it?
Mushrooms have caps. Anyway. The last time we discussed mushrooms, we talked about ergots and ergotism. We talked about a little bit about like the dancing plagues and things that may have been caused by ergot. St. Anthony's fire, that kind of thing. Even the witch trials, I think we spoke about, like there's a theory that ergot had something to do with that. We can't know for sure, but it's an interesting theory. We also talked about false morals, but I'm gonna get to some more mushrooms in a moment. But let's discuss some invasive fungal infections and molds, as well as their effects on the environment and body.
Okay.
You may already know about the superficial fungal infections out there, like ringworm. It's not actually a worm; it's a fungal infection. Athlete's foot, nail infections, those things that you just kind of hear about. Um, and of course, there's infections like yeast infections and thrush. Those are also fungal infections. Um, I think this is fascinating because while these are illnesses, um, it also seems parasitic in a way because it's caused by it isn't caused by a bacteria or a virus, but by some like environmental fungal spore deciding to make you its host, right? So.
Hmm.
Which in a way, it's like, for me, it kind of bridges that whole like, is it poison or is it an illness? Because they both, like poison obviously is something you take in, right? Um, and it's not, it's like like arsenic, for example, not like a living thing you take in that poisons you. Um, Whereas like bacteria, viruses, fungi, these are living things that kind of like make you its host in order to replicate and all this stuff.
Hmm.
But it still poisons you in a way,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
So
I'm with you.
yeah. So we'll talk about some other creepy fungi that take other critters as hosts as well, and you'll be glad that you are not them. But first, black molds. Now, the horror of finding mold in a home is real. Usually, it means there's also a leak problem or a moisture problem somewhere, and it's probably likely if there's mold present, it's likely been going on for maybe a week or two at this point.
I've been in many patients' homes where I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure we got mold going on.
some places you can walk in and just smell it.
Mhm. The patient I saw yesterday,
Mhm.
they had just done repairs to the house. It's like the living room is like a vaulted ceiling. A tree from the hurricane last fall, a tree fell straight through that living room. They had just finished construction, like on
Ah,
the exterior,
no, that
but
sucks.
yeah, it was awful. And literally the wood finishing on the ceiling, they had not finished that.
Hmm.
So you could still see the studs and stuff. Like they had just finished it.
That's when you're like, you look at the camera like you're Jim from The Office, and it's just like, really?
Yeah.
Seriously? But yeah, mold is actually pretty common in the South or anywhere it's warm and humid as well. If you live like where we live, you've likely seen black mold inside or outside somewhere. What many people do not know is that there are different kinds of black mold. There are both toxic and non-toxic black molds, believe it or not. Now, all black molds can affect health as they trigger the immune response. And those with allergies to the stuff will suffer effects either way, like moi.
Hmm.
Um, I, I I mean, if there's mold anywhere, even if I can't smell it, it will affect me. It hates me. Others at risk include those with immunosuppression from illnesses, medications, those with respiratory diseases such as asthma or COPD. Also, just like having an immature immune system, like babies, or maybe weakened immune systems just from like being elderly. I hate to pick on our elderly folks, but that can
No,
happen.
it's clinically true.
Yeah.
We for our agency, we because of where the metrics are at right now, we are masked up inside the patient's homes because of respiratory illness going around.
Definitely not a bad idea,
Yeah.
especially because you're going from patient to patient. You're not trying to spread
Exactly.
stuff from people to people, because if they catch it,
Oh,
it's different.
not a cold could kill some of our patients. We just can't.
That's what ticked me
risk
off
it.
about the whole COVID thing. I'm just like,
Well,
okay, like I understand that you might be a healthy individual, but the people you're around, not all of them are.
well, it requires a horizontal morality.
I guess, and like having seen really sick people
Mhm.
and like watching people die of things they shouldn't die from.
Sure. Well,
Like,
they don't. Well, people who most folks who think that way, they have no visceral experience.
well, they should have to
with
be a nurse in the
severe
next life.
Well, that'd be fair. They'd get it then.
Oh,
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they wouldn't get it. I
no,
don't know what.
there are some people that never learn. I get
Yeah.
that, you know. Just thinking about some of my family members right now. Just saying. Like we all have family like that, right?
Mhm.
Now, Now, the black mold to really worry about is called, Lord help me, Stachybotrys chartarum.
No, that's not it.
You wouldn't know.
I know. I don't know. I'm just kidding.
Stachybotrys chartarum. I'm going with that. These scientific names, they get real. And I know like the scientific names when it comes to like some of the like certain animals, zoology and stuff.
You do.
I know that because I took classes. You know, I've taken
crushed in that. It was an ichthyology class.
I don't even like fish, but I loved the class.
You loved it. You memorized all. Was it genus and species names?
Yeah.
You nailed that. And to this day,
fun,
you say, if I mention, a trout or a catfish, you'll mention
rainbow trout.
Rainbow trout.
Oncoricus micus.
There it is. Told you.
Do I need to know that? No. Do I know where my keys are? No.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Anyway.
I ruined that for you.
So this particular mold is like black, gray, or dark green in color, sometimes all three. It's known as toxic black mold, and it has a distinct smell of rot or decay. It's most often found in areas consistently exposed to humidity, such as prolonged water damage or consistently damp areas.
Is this what Hexus was?
No, Hexus was the smoke.
Oh, he was the smoke?
From the Fungali?
Yeah.
Did you even watch Fungali?
Yeah.
Were you allowed to watch Fungali?
No. No, we watched it.
Did we?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Batty. Remember Batty was my favorite. Robin Williams. Batty. He was great. Now, he was the smoke from that machine that was tearing out the trees, I think, or the oil mixture. It was something to do with
He was a viscous...
he was something to
sentient being.
He was a pollutant.
Yes.
But I could see a black mold as a bad guy. Just saying, because they can be pretty rough. And also, like, and we'll talk about this in a minute too, with a certain, with an actual incident that happened in the past. These come along too after such things as hurricanes, like where you've had a lot of rain, the humidity is still high, and it takes a while to fix things, and things get moldy.
That's right.
It sucks. It's just another thing you have to deal with. So it may appear furry or slimy, This kind of mold in particular produces mycotoxins, which float in the air as they are released via these microscopic spores. You can't see them, but you can breathe them in, and you'll find them inside and out. But yeah, this kind of mold loves to live in damp areas on a food source such as drywall, paper, wood, or carpet. It loves cellulose in general, so it can grow on fruits and vegetables and other plants as well. It will grow and spread if not dealt with. It produces mycotoxins such as trichothecenes, which include satrotoxins, roridins, and verrucarins. All I see when I say verrucarins is veruca salt from
100%.
freaking...
Daddy, I want another pony. Daddy, make time go faster. That's my favorite one.
I know those names are a lot, but to simplify, we are focusing on satrotoxins and just, trichothecenes in general, as a general thing. So,
as I thought we would.
Yeah, of course. These are like just as causes of human health issues, mainly respiratory and gastrointestinal. So there are different types of these various mycotoxins. So just follow me through this moldy labyrinth and we'll get to the center while avoiding the distractions. I was feeling particularly labyrinthy when I wrote that.
Let's do it.
So trichothecenes are known to inhibit protein synthesis in eukaryotic cells, much like we and other multicellular organisms have. This can lead to immune suppression, neurotoxicity, and reproductive problems at certain levels of exposure. In animals, you would notice a refusal to feed, skin problems, weight loss, diarrhea, vomiting. Also, not all animals can vomit. Horses, for example, cannot vomit.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's why if they eat poison,
cows?
Cows are ruminators. They have like 4 different stomachs going on.
Right. Brother.
They have a whole different kind of digestive system.
What? Yeah, I feel like I remember being shocked at hearing there's another animal that can't vomit.
There's a, I'm sure there's another one. Horses are ones I always remember. I'm sure there's many more actually. Just looking at like the anatomy of some of the critters out there, but there is a
Mhm.
procedure done in humans that will prevent you from vomiting too.
Yes,
There
I've
is
had a
that.
handful of patients that they'll tell me that.
That
'Cause,
scares me though, because I'm like,
bruh,
I feel like you kind of need to
it's
sometimes,
I
right?
you do.
Yeah,
And
like
like
it's
I remember hearing that, and it'll be folks with esophageal issues.
yeah.
They got like their esophagus has been like stretched several times
Mm-hmm.
in the clinic as a procedure to aid in swallowing
Mm-hmm.
or digestion. And they also might have Barrett's esophagus, all sorts
Yeah,
of fun
it's
stuff
kind of a
going on.
last resort sort of deal.
It is. It is. They're just physically trying to force the esophageal
Mm-hmm.
opening further open so that you can. But yeah, when they tell me that, I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Because one of my screening questions, literally for every patient, is, "Have you had any nausea and vomiting?"
Mm-hmm.
And I had like at this point, my screening questionnaire that I give every patient is usually identifies anything that is not top of mind for
Mm-hmm.
them. Like it's literally a medical issue, but they just don't think to tell me off the jump.
Yeah.
So yeah, sometimes I sniff that out and I'm like, that is wild.
Yeah. But it is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So also hemorrhaging. That's another not so fun symptom that you'll find in animals and people. Actually, we're going to go over that in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
You may see the mold itself, though it may be hidden for a time, but you will not see the spores that will ultimately hurt your lungs and immune system. I still tell the story of the pumpkin disaster in our house a few years back. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
We carved pumpkins one year with some friends, and even though it was like the middle of October, it was still pretty warm here, as it usually is. It was like 80 degrees during the afternoon some days. The inside of pumpkins are damp, as you know, and I thought I would let them dry inside for a day or two. This was a mistake because I didn't check them. I was busy with other stuff and just kind of forgot about them the rest of that week.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to feel sick, which was not really that unusual for me in the fall, as my allergies really come into play during ragweed season.
Mm-hmm.
But I started feeling worse pretty quickly, however, so I went to the doctor. I was sent home with antibiotic for a pretty serious sinus infection. Anyway, I was cleaning up and wiping things down and noticed those dang pumpkins.
Mm-hmm.
And the inside was dark and fuzzy, and I freaked out.
And the outside was fine. You couldn't tell unless you looked inside, right?
Right. Well, they were carved, though, so I could notice, like, that's weird. Why are they so shadowy? But I hadn't looked at them really because I was busy with other stuff. Just totally forgot about them.
I didn't realize they could rot that fast.
Well, where it's warmer here. You really can't. Like somebody mentioned, I think someone sent me this thing on like you can like rinse them out with this solution. I'll have to look at it again, and then you can do it. Maybe peroxide, maybe. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I think you showed me that message.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. But like here in Georgia, it's like, or anywhere around here, it's just too hot and humid still to do that to pumpkins until it's like colder. But but even if I'd put them outside, like it was still so hot and humid, it probably would have done the same thing. Although I wouldn't have been around them as much, maybe.
Remember the pumpkin fields in Stranger Things? Do you remember that?
Yeah, they were rotting because of the.
Oh, what a great! I don't know. That was just so clever for them to have.
Have they come out with a new season yet? They're going to be like.
No,
they're going to like they're in their 20s by the time they do that.
They have. I know they filmed it. They're probably just in post production. There's probably a massive amount of CGI because I bet you this is the last season.
I'm always shocked when I see that girl that plays 11 now. Like I see her like on things like on, I don't know,
Millie
social
Brown.
media.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's her?
Yeah. Like that's a woman. She
looks like she's in her 30s. It's got to be the makeup and stuff though.
Probably. Anyways.
No, people that are younger than us somehow look much older these days. I think it has to do with the makeup and the, I don't know. Something like that.
You wear makeup once a month, so you
I don't really. That's too much work for me.
But you look super cute when you do it.
Oh, well, thank you. I mean, what are you trying to say? What are you trying to say? What are you trying to say?
That's enough for you.
Walked in.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
But yeah, why I just paint pumpkins now. I don't really carve them.
Yeah.
Just to be sure. Makes you want to go change those air filters now, huh?
They have been changed.
Oh, look at you. Yeah, change your air filters, guys. I don't know why that came out so garbled.
Change your air filters.
Change your air filters. Also, don't forget to remove the lint from your dryers if you don't want a house fire. Thank you. Back to molds. So what symptoms reportedly plague those breathing in toxic black mold spores? So you've got your fatigue, your allergy symptoms such as sneezing, you've got coughing, congestion, eye irritation, headaches are common, especially in the beginning. If further consistent exposure occurs, like you live in a house or apartment that has toxic black mold, it's just there and it's not being taken care of, you may start to notice mood changes, forgetfulness, body aches, and nosebleeds. It's rare, actually, to become really ill from any black mold. If you don't have respiratory or allergy issues already, there is still some debate about whether toxic black mold syndrome is even a thing, as we still do not have enough quote unquote evidence to prove that mold of any sort causes a full syndrome of symptoms like this. I do know it affects me. But I also tested high on the mold section of that allergy testing thing. So there's that.
That could definitely
So that's
be in
definitely
play.
part of it. I, for one, think that molds can do harm to your respiratory system if you are in a constant place of exposure. And I'll go over why it's still debated in just a moment. It's kind of silly, really, but yeah. But you should also know that, like, it's estimated that the average person spends like 90% of their life indoors. I know
That's
I
fascinating.
know that sounds kind of sad, but then you have to think too, like sleeping. Like we spend a third of our lives sleeping.
Yeah, so that's 33% right there.
Yeah, and then like,
But then you got to throw another 60%.
but then like, yeah, but then you go to work every day. For those of us like who work indoors, there's that. I say us, like I'm just doing research. You know what I mean? Like
You're a
indoors.
podcast host and producer.
Okay,
This is what you tell other
I want
grown-ups.
to be a producer. I love that one. The Producers. Good show.
Oh my God.
I can't do it.
Can't work in these conditions.
We are a mess today.
Yes.
We are a hot mess. I'm doing my best.
Literally us every day.
Hot mess,
Don't lie.
doing my best.
Ayo. Sounds like a Chapel Roan lyric.
Does it? I don't even know who that is. I got problems. I need to like. I do.
Look up HOTTOGO.
I don't.
Hot to Go.
Oh.
It's a fun song.
I was like, Hotooge? What?
Hotog?
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 I don't, yeah. I don't like see or listen to new things very often. So I need to like.
You don't. Yeah. And I should. That's why
we need to like do some like
live
reactions because honestly you could go back a few years too because I don't really know much.
That's a great idea. I should show you just like the top 5 most popular songs out right now. Of course, and you just react to them in real time.
But like I'd try to be impartial because my genre is mostly like I listen to a lot of heavy rock and I don't listen to death metal.
I'm just kidding.
I listen to metal.
You do.
Alternative.
You listen to it well.
Like hard rock, classic rock. I like classic rock. So stuff like that. I keep getting off track. I'm sorry.
We are ADHD.
I'm sorry. I'm coming.
And all the people who listen who have all the ADHD people who listen are like, yep, this is it. Here for it.
Mold. Bing, bop, boom, 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 bop, bam.
Okay.
Sorry. That's been in my head a lot. So molds, like other fungi, have been around since antiquity. So can I start calling those nice guys fungi? Like, oh, you're a nice guy? You're a nice guy? Okay. You know what I'm talking about there, right? I do know about that. The guys who are like, I'm nice. Why won't you date me? Okay. Maybe you should try being a fun guy. Okay. They are mentioned in places like the Bible and other religious books, as well as in historic accounts from the Egyptians and Greeks and Romans. So mold has been present with humans for a long, long time, growing on crops, even stone. I mean, it will grow where it can grow. Okay.
Yeah.
I actually read where Egyptians, as well as the Greeks and Romans, actually would use moldy bread in like wound care, as it would kill the bacteria. I guess like a penicillin sort of. Penicillin's a mold.
Yes.
So
it was discovered accidentally.
Yeah. Not in the same way like black mold is, but you know, and now penicillin's made like synthetically by growing the penicillin mold in isolation and then purifying it so that you're not like actually receiving mold.
Yeah,
mold. Man. But I'm like over here like it's mold, but it's not mold. So, yeah, it sounds complex. Just know penicillin comes from mold and is technically a mold, but we have control over the way it grows.
Mhm.
Instead of, well, I think a better way of putting it too is like sometimes molds do not grow in isolation a lot of the time. You've got like several of them growing at one time.
Right.
And so, like, if you're trying to get penicillin from this mold, you're probably getting bits of the other mold too.
Right. They don't behave unless it's a clinically controlled situation.
I'm just over here trying to explain something that probably doesn't even need explaining, but here we are.
No. These listeners are here for it. Believe me.
So, yeah. But also, if you have allergies to penicillin, like you can that can be a thing. So you have to, it's not safe for everybody.
True.
Now, this is one of many reasons why having other antibiotics is a great thing.
Yes.
And don't get too uptight about an antibiotic coming from a mold.
Okay, fine.
Yeast in bread is also a fungus. So you're eating fungus. So much fungus. Yes. Whenever I talk about this, it reminds me of, you remember the old school Mario Brothers movie?
Yeah.
Where I think it was like John Leguizamo was Luigi. Yes. And I forgot who was Mario, but like there's like fungus stuff like just growing, but it's like a part of the world or whatever, and it becomes like it's like a friend or I don't know, kind of. No, it's the king, right? The toadstool, like now I got to go watch that movie, figure out what I'm talking about. But there was a fungus in there, and it was like, friendly fungus.
It was a fungus among us.
There was that. So yeah, that's what makes me think of
Bob Hoskins. That was the guy who played Mario.
Mario.
Who's British, by the way.
Well, I mean, Mario's Italian, I guess.
Yeah, I know, but just, the ability to slip in and out of accents to the point that nobody knows on screen. It's nice, impressive.
Yeah. But yeah, it was discovered by ancient Egyptians and Chinese back in the day, different times, mind you, that leaving bread dough out a little bit longer on warm days before cooking would make the bread airy and better to eat. They likely didn't know why, but it was because as it fermented, it grew yeast. So now yeast isn't a mold. Yeast is unicellular, and mold is multicellular, but it is a fungus. So yeah, related, The idea that toxic black mold could kill actually comes from stories of animals dying first. The first cases of disease caused by Stachybotrys. Let's try to say it a different way. Stachybotrys. Stacky.
Stegosaurus.
Chartarum. Chartar. Chartar. No. What does he say?
I actually don't know. And at the risk of being excommunicated from the nerd community, I don't know Pokemon. I really don't.
It's more of a water Pokemon sort, so
okay.
I'm not sure about the fire ones. I think it was Chaw. Anyway, but these first cases come from the area of present-day Ukraine. At that time, these cases were described in 1938 by Russian scientists and concerned mainly farm animals, especially horses. Other cases around the world were also being seen in relation to animals and were related to mycotoxin-contaminated foods. So this particular toxicosis in the case of animals was characterized by symptoms such as irritation of the mouth, throat, and nose, as well as shock, dermal necrosis, hemorrhage, nervous disorder, and cardiac arrhythmias, followed if the disease persisted by lymphadenopathy with fever. So you got like the swelling of those lymph nodes and all that. Leukopenia, agranulocytic anemia, so you've got like your blood cells being affected, and finally death. Its impact on humans has long been debated. We mainly come into contact with mold by inhalation of the spores rather than like ingesting contaminated food. Like we're not eating contaminated hay or whatever like animals would have been. I mean, unless you're like eating moldy bread on purpose, I guess.
Which is a choice.
I mean, that's not to say you're getting black mold, but you're getting, I wouldn't do that either way.
Do you like penicillin on your pizza?
Yeah. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, a little too red.
Oh my God. We are so old. It's okay. But still, it's been shown to cause some problems in humans. It seems that many different sources I sought have different opinions on the matter of, does this specific black mold cause illness?
Okay.
Stacky. We're talking about Stacky.
Right. Stegosaurus.
So I went study hunting to find actual data and numbers on the matter.
Mm-hmm.
For reference, this particular mold was not included as a dangerous species on the list prepared in 1996 by the European Confederation of Medical Mycology. That's fun. I want to work there.
Exactly.
But was on the list drawn up in the same year by the American Industrial Hygiene Association organization. And according to them, this fungus ranks first among molds producing mycotoxins that are harmful to human health. So there's some debating on the matter. Basically.
Did you say industrial? What was that?
Hygiene Association.
Industrial hygiene, like mass production of food.
Yeah, or if you're working in industries where there could be issues like mold or possible
some sort of organic
bacterial.
Yeah.
Yep. So sicknesses in humans related to S. chartarum were associated with something called sick building syndrome, occurring with exposure in wet buildings, like damp, humid areas. Idiopathic pulmonary hemorrhage was, for the first time, reported in Greece. However, S. chartarum, as the most probable cause of this, was first isolated in Texas, in the U.S. I don't know if there's a Texas anywhere else, but here we are.
I'm not aware of
just making it clear that it's in the U.S. From the lungs of a child with the same symptoms. Somewhat earlier, from January 1993 to December of 1994, as many as 10 cases were described in the area of Cleveland, which is in Ohio in the U.S. Maybe there's another Cleveland. I don't know.
There are other Clevelands.
Yeah.
But I just said that. You weren't telling us. You were reminding yourself. That's where Cleveland is. Because
I know where Cleveland is.
My wife is not that different from Sherlock Holmes. She has a mind palace that she can access with,
okay, mine's more of a mindful.
It's like the golden hoard of Smaug. That's how much information is in my wife's brain, except geography.
I hate geography.
It's nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found. We should do an episode where I just ask you, what is the capital of North Dakota? And you will answer the question incorrectly.
I probably will.
Okay.
Why do I need to know that? I'm not going to go to North Dakota.
That's exactly what Sherlock says.
And you'd be like, it's primary school stuff.
Primary school stuff.
Oh my God.
You didn't know the Earth goes round the sun.
I do know that. I actually was obsessed with astronomy for a long time. Thank you very much. No, but there's just things that I know where certain parts of the world are. I know where the UK is. I know where Europe is. I know where.
You know where the Western Hemisphere is.
Continents there are.
All right.
I know 7.
All right. Let's see it. So
I know where the oceans are.
Let the listener understand.
I know where the equator is.
The equator that became so big. It's a building that became so big it became a continent. We watched the Severance season finale last night, y'all.
Yeah, I am
so intense.
What are the kids calling it? I am shook.
Yes, the scream I scrumped.
But I do know some geography.
You do.
We've digressed there are certain things though that I'm just why do I need to know that? Like the capitals of all the U.S. states. I do not know the capitals of all the U.S. freaking states. I'm sorry, I don't.
Oh man,
I'm not going to live in every U.S. state.
To be fair, they never taught us how to do our taxes or anything that was useful. So
there you go. I can locate certain countries on maps and stuff. I know where Africa is. I know Africa is a continent.
There you go.
And not just a country. The country of Africa. No, there's many countries in Africa. I know that.
I can see Russia from my house.
I know where Australia is, and I know where New Zealand and all that is. I know basic geography.
I'm just giving you a hard time. You don't have anything to prove.
You are. I also don't know sports. Let's just get that out. I don't do sports. Sorry, I just can't.
Okay, since you brought it up, Rebecca, when we were first dating, for my birthday, she got us tickets to an Atlanta Braves game, field level behind home plate.
I know where Atlanta is.
Folks. Congratulations. You've been there many times.
I hate it.
It was some of the best seats. I mean, it was incredible. We were so close to the field. And the weather was pristine. It was like 63, 65 degrees Fahrenheit. I mean, just a light breeze. Like, it was a gorgeous day to watch any sport. And like, I felt like I was in heaven. And we ordered food from our seats. It was, that wasn't the moment I fell in love with you. But if I hadn't been in love with you already, that would have been the moment I fell in love with you. 100%. Like, it was so nice. I was like, it was a heavenly experience. Yeah.
Back to what I was saying. Before some debate about my geographical skills. Somewhat earlier, from January 1993 to December of 1994, as many as 10 cases were described in the area of Cleveland, Ohio.
There it is.
Just 3 months before doctors became aware of the medical problem, a heavy rainstorm had flooded many homes in Cleveland. A total of 37 cases of pulmonary hemorrhage were described in Cleveland between 1993 and 1998.
Bro, that many?
Yeah, of which 12 were fatal.
Wow.
And it wasn't just in Ohio. Other states were also reporting cases like this. These unusual cases of pulmonary hemorrhage were occurring mainly in children aged 1 to 8 months. And were mainly manifested by coughing with blood. Now, these are like very young children. These are infants. So their immune systems aren't going to be matured enough to really handle this kind of thing. So all patients came from damp or flooded homes from which S. chartarum was abundantly isolated. A study performed at this time by the CDC did not prove that S. chartarum was unambiguously responsible for pulmonary hemorrhage, but studies conducted in other research centers during this period seemed to strongly suggest that this species was the cause of acute pulmonary hemorrhage in the infants. What we do know for sure, however, is that in 138 infants living in moldy homes in the United States, pulmonary hemorrhage was identified between 1993 and 1998. And like I said, this was after like an issue of flooding, so it was damp. It was, there was space for this mold to grow. And the reason why the CDC didn't want to say that it was absolutely this particular species was because it's kind of hard to isolate it from other species or whatever. They're not denying that the mold wasn't a problem, but they also can't.
They can't directly connect it.
Right, and they also found that in some of the homes there were like smokers and stuff. So like they can't, if they can't isolate it in like totality, a lot of the times they're like, well,
you mean
maybe
people who smoke?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Smokers.
I thought you meant like, I'm smoking some beef.
No,
like
sorry.
A smoker.
Yeah, someone who smokes cigarettes.
Gotcha.
So they're going to look at that and be like, well, we can't rule out that this didn't add to it. It's not in isolation, so we can't. They're not saying it didn't. They're just saying they can't prove that it was the only cause or whatever. So that's just how they word things. So as a part of a connected study in Cleveland, Ohio, while this was happening, the county coroner reviewed all 172 infant deaths for a 2-year period around that time. With further tests on tissue samples collected before the infants were buried, doctors found that 6 of the 117 deaths that were attributed to sudden infant death syndrome were more likely caused by the mold. So They were able to kind of look back and see that too. It is also well known that the repeated exposure to dry mold, either alive or dead, of this species can induce pulmonary inflammation, arterial remodeling, and immune cell infiltration in mice that are inhaling them. So it can bother you either way. I think the problem in pointing the finger solely at the species, like I said, is saying like it alone is causing the problem, because there are other molds that it often grows with, such as aspergillus, which we're going to talk about that one in a minute too.
Okay.
Either way, breathing in mold is bad, whether you just have allergies to it or whether it's this kind of mold, and it can hurt you. So it's just best to be safe and get rid of it.
Yeah, I keep coming back to like, and again, I grew up with a dad who is kind of a jack of all trades. He's a brilliant mechanic. He can do carpentry, drywall, plumbing, electrical, anything. And like over time, I just learned, like, I started to recognize, like, especially modern homes, the way that they're built, the way that they're insulated and, weathered in and sealed, and the way the HVAC system just passively conditions the air, through filtration and, keeping a temperature, keeping a climate inside of a home, uh, so that mold and things like that don't fester, has always been really fascinating to me, especially when I, for work, I'm going into a lot of homes of very poor people out, rural areas, and I'm worried when I go in. You can smell stuff when you go in, and it's like, ugh, and it'll be a really old house that's had everything added to it as time goes on, like electrical wiring.
Yeah, but there's not much in terms of protecting from the outside.
No, and it'd be, if they do have an HVAC system, it's broken down, has been for years. They've basically been using space heaters and window units.
Yeah, it's the space heaters that worry me because they can cause so many fires. Also, don't plug your space heater to a power strip because don't do that. Not good. It's a fire risk. But yeah, I would say too, though, that you can still get mold in places that have good AC. If, as you said before too, there isn't a whole lot of protection from like the humidity outside. So like a lot of times, like you can get a dehumidifier. Like a lot of people do that for their basements and stuff.
Yes, there's steps you can take.
Yeah,
but there's just modern construction has come so far in keeping. It's just all passively built into homes now. They it's wild.
Our laundry room doesn't have like much ventilation in it at all. And so one time I got one of those there's these little things you can get, and they're kind of like a bag that you hang, and it's supposed to collect this, and it was full. Yeah.
Full of what?
Like water.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Oh, was it humidity from like the from the dryer,
from all
the washer?
From all of that. I haven't done it since, but thankfully we haven't had like any problems with it or anything. But yeah, it was just like, wow, there's a lot of humidity in here. So yeah, there are things like dehumidifiers. They can be kind of expensive, unfortunately, but it is a thing. Everything's expensive.
I had a patient tell me
breathing is expensive.
Yes, I had a patient tell me he's retired Navy from like he was in Vietnam. He said when he first got in, he was married. He made $180 a month. I told him, I said, brother, I can't walk out of my house for $180.
So the authors of one study that I read observed that spores in the lungs were not able to germinate because the temperature of the environment in the lungs is not conducive for such. So that's nice that it can't do that. But
I never knew that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, because, body temperature is going to be
98.6
than the outside sometimes.
Oh, I thought once it got in there, like it could just do its thing.
Well, it depends. There are other molds that can survive that temperature, but this particular one.
Other molds can survive.
Oh my God. What is that?
Country boy can survive.
Oh, I don't listen to country, so.
Neither do I.
Really? You know it though. You know more country than I do.
I pick and choose.
I've listened to like Alan Jackson, like old country.
Okay, see, that's the real. That's real country music.
Older people out there that are like old, and yeah, if I had to be called old because of things I listened to,
no. The pure country fans, they know there's a clear delineation. The stuff today is way more pop country than it is actual authentic country.
Anyways, I didn't mind.
I digress.
I was actually cool with like Alan Jackson and a few of those
great songs, iconic songs.
I didn't mind those at all. This allowed them to conclude that S. chartarum has no possibility to invade lung tissues. So far, only one paper has described growth of S. chartarum in the lungs of rats, but this could be possible because of the immunological status of 4-day-old rats, which is like, in this case, the immune system would have been very immature. So you may have seen it in the infants that were like between 1 and 8 months of age because their immune systems are pretty immature at that time. So there's nothing really fighting it off. as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so, there was an inflammatory effect that did not develop against it, and germination in lung tissue at that time was possible. Now, it's possible for those with suppressed immune systems to have respiratory problems to this mold, obviously. Those at most risk for health issues around molds are infants and young children, elderly, immunocompromised individuals, and those with asthma or allergies. In the light of the currently available data, it is highly probable that all the changes in internal organs described so far, including gastrointestinal and pulmonary hemorrhage, as well as like necrotic changes with skin or mucous membranes, these are simply related to secondary metabolites of this fungus, including the mycotoxins we talked about. So the things they give off more so than anything else. So if you see black mold, what should you do? Again, not all black mold is this particular species, but either way, it's just best to get rid of it because you don't know what's.
If you've got if you have mold in a living space, it's never going to be good because that means that moisture and all that stuff is it can fester.
It's a bad sign, so you need to get it fixed.
You got a water leak somewhere. Right. Usually what it means. You got to figure that out. You're going to start to get structural damage.
Have you ever seen I've seen like pictures of houses. Like people take a picture of something they notice, and it's like there's a mushroom growing in the carpet in one corner, and it's like,
what?
Like something is not right about that. Like, what's going on there?
You've seen that,
or from like drywall,
brother.
And it's like, okay, something's going on. You need to get that fixed.
Okay.
So, yeah, if you do see black mold, bleach will work in killing and cleaning it. Hydrogen peroxide, 17%. You have to pay attention to those percentages because like there's different percentages of hydrogen peroxide as well as alcohol. 70% of isopropyl alcohol are also effective. Honestly, bleach is typically cheap and easy to use. Areas high in mold require removing the contaminated building material like in completion, and then just applying a fungicide to the surface that has any contact with those moldy areas. So sometimes you just have to remove the entire piece of drywall or whatever it is if it's extensive.
Oh, certainly. Certainly. It's something you only want to do once, so you have to completely remove it. I feel like this is so random. I feel like there's like stuff in the Old Testament law about removing,
mildews and molds and stuff.
I'm like, y'all got building inspector sections of the Old Testament law.
Yeah, it's in multiple books, religious books, because it's like people knew back then it was making people sick,
is wild,
and it's something to something to think about, something to get rid of, so that it doesn't make you worse. You also need to like make sure you repair any leaks or sources of moisture that are causing the situation. There is antimicrobial paint out there that you can cover the cleaned areas with if it's like, just a smaller area or whatever. And I've heard of people trying to use like essential oils as a mold killer, but we just don't have like the conclusive evidence to show how well it works. Like some like to use some oils like tea tree oil, they do have antifungal properties. But considering this particular mold and the amount you would need, like bleach would probably be cheaper.
Just get
anyway.
The bleach, man.
So
put a mask and gloves on and handle it.
Yeah, open a window. It's safe to wear a mask when cleaning black mold and to have some ventilation, like an open window, something when using, anything like that too, when using a good amount of bleach, because you don't want to be breathing in. And never, never, never mix bleach with vinegar or other acid.
No,
ever.
That's a caustic mixture.
That's how you get chlorine gas, which is dangerous. I will show up in ghost form and slap the jug out of your hands if you so much as lift both products at the same time. In the end, if you do not know what to do, call an expert. Okay? Seriously though, don't test me. I will do it.
I will haunt you.
Okay, so real quick before moving on to more fun guy, fun to discuss at least, I want to mention a fungal infection that we do know about for sure, aspergillosis. aspergillosis, is caused by inhaling spores from the Aspergillus genus of molds.
Does it cause Asperger's?
No,
Just kidding.
you weirdo. Anyway, it does not. We don't call it Asperger's anymore.
Is that what happened to you?
Because
oh, God.
Hans Asperger was a Nazi.
True.
Anyway, it can also enter your body through a cut in your skin, though. So that's not fun. Aspergillus fumigatus is the most common culprit here, and it can be found indoors and outside. This is also most commonly seen in those with compromised immune systems or chronic lung infections. In these cases, aspergillosis can cause allergic reactions, chronic lung problems, and invasive disease where it spreads all over the body and is very hard to treat.
Mm-hmm.
The infection itself can range from mild to severe. Technically, there are 4 types. You have allergic bronchopulmonary aspergillosis, aspergilloma, which is also known as a fungal ball, which we'll explain in a minute. Chronic pulmonary aspergillosis, and invasive aspergillosis. The latter, as I said earlier, is very difficult to treat and can come back again and again. So this stuff is everywhere. You likely breathe it in all the time and don't get sick because your immune system is good at getting rid of it. A fungal researcher at the University of Georgia, Michelle Momini, I think that's how you say her name. She studies Aspergillus. Expelliarmus. She studies Aspergillus and says that current research estimates that every one of us inhales between 10 and 100 Aspergillus spores a day. This stuff can grow in dead leaves, plants, soil, and compost, as well as in many moist indoor environments. Like if you garden and stuff, I'm sure you have come across. You've
a greenhouse.
Even if you're just walking through the park, you've probably breathed some of this in.
Yeah. There's a certain amount of pathogens that your body just deals with that you never know happen.
So those with aspergillosis often have such symptoms as fever, cough, and shortness of breath. Depending on where the infection is and whether it invades other parts of your body, you could have other issues such as coughing up blood, wheezing, chest pain. You can experience eye problems such as redness, pain, and blurred vision. Sinus problems such as congestion, runny nose, head and face pain. Skin problems, which would be more like cutaneous aspergillosis, such as the death of tissue and ulceration. So it's not fun.
Whoa.
GI issues such as diarrhea, abdominal pain, constipation, and neurological issues such as confusion, weakness, mood changes, and seizures. So it kind of depends on what area of your body it's affecting.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned the sinus problems, but these can progress to involve bloody mucus or black pus draining from the mouth, nose, or eyes.
Ew.
Not fun. Also, the swelling of the face, eye drooping, none of it sounds nice at all. So let's just all take a minute to thank our immune system if it is working properly. And if yours isn't, I am truly sorry.
Yes.
There is so much ick everywhere.
Yes, we sympathize with people with compromised immune systems.
Not cool.
It's a tough go.
Main treatment options for aspergillosis include antifungal medications, corticosteroids for if there's inflammation going on. And you have to remember too, it's kind of a battle because corticosteroids can also lower your immune system. So it's kind of it's a balance.
They blunt your immune system?
A little bit.
I didn't know that. Okay.
They can a little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Last time I took a steroid with an antibiotic, I ended up with thrush. No fun.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Also, surgery. Surgery is usually indicated for the fungus ball kind, the aspergilloma, as it's usually isolated in one area and easier to remove. So you may have this one ball of fungus up in your nasal cavity somewhere, and they can remove it that way. But it can also be for invasive infections if necessary. Those with seriously compromised immune systems are advised, or supposed to be advised, to wear N95 masks when working on their lawns or with gardening. Also to avoid construction sites where dust and molds can be in the air just constantly. Mm-hmm. Some of the best estimates out there say at least 1.5 million deaths a year are caused by invasive fungal infections. Not just aspergillosis, but just invasive fungal infections in general. That's on the same order as malaria, basically.
Wow.
But people don't tend to think about fungal diseases in the same way. This is according to Michelle Momini. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Another number I found, which I found on JWatch, which is like Journal Watch, .org, was over 6 million cases of fungal infections worldwide each year occur, and with an associated 2.5 million deaths. So it's a lot of fungal infections. We're not talking about like your ringworm and your athlete's foot. We're talking about like the invasive fungal infections. It also mentions that the annual global incidence of invasive aspergillosis was estimated at over 2 million, with a mortality of 1.8 million. For Candida bloodstream infections, an annual incidence was about 626,000. In addition, nearly 1 million annual cases of invasive candidiasis with negative blood cultures also occurred. And candidiasis is just a fungal infection you can have. Some 500,000 annual cases of pneumocytosis were documented, with about 80% occurring in persons with HIV infection. As we know, they would have compromised immune systems. The updated global yearly estimate for cryptococcal meningitis was 194,000, with nearly 25% of cases occurring in those without HIV infection or a known immunodeficiency. So it can also probably be a part of an environmental thing too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that sucks. So let's talk about something kind of fun. I say fun, but it's not fun if you live around it, I guess.
Okay.
But whiskey fungus. I'm talking about, you ever heard of a whiskey fungus?
I have not.
So we're going to talk about a few kinds of fungus that eat and grow on interestingly specific things. Baldonia compniensis. I'm just going to call it whiskey fungus because I probably said that wrong. That's a very interesting scientific name, but most of them are. This particular fungus thrives on ethanol vapors released during the aging process of whiskey or other such alcohols. But yeah, technically it's feeding off of the sugar in those vapors. The scientific name is actually derived from Antonin Baudouin. Gonna go with that.
Yeah.
If I'm wrong, feel free to tell me off about it. The director of the French Distillers Association, who first noticed a quote-unquote plague of soot discoloring the walls of distilleries in Cognac, France. I mean, a lot of people like whiskey, so who are we to judge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Still, while it's not supposedly toxic, it does cause some unsightly harm to the areas where it grows. It's not very pretty. It can grow on a lot of surfaces for even a good ways away from the distilleries, such as like nearby fences, homes, buildings, trees, cars, outdoor furniture, etc. I mentioned that it's non-toxic, but it has been suggested by the pediatric environmental health specialty units that those cleaning these areas wear an N95 mask to prevent allergic reactions, asthma, and other such issues. It is also suggested to keep children away from it, so that's kind of telling. And it may just be that you can cause inflammation within your respiratory areas. So. They also suggest fully washing and removing visible contamination of any produce visibly contaminated with distillery fungus. So, yikes. So, if you got an apple, maybe don't eat that apple. Or just wash it. I don't know. You do you. Technically, I wonder if it would taste kind of whiskey-ish. Probably not.
No.
Whiskey apples. Technically, we do not have evidence of the fungus being toxic. I suppose it's just a fun guess.
Your face.
Look, I thought that was great. So leave me alone.
That's a fun guess about a fun guy. Get it?
So a few examples of such a fungus can be found in whiskey distilleries like the Jack Daniel's distillery in Tennessee. People who live nearby have complained of their homes, cars, fences, and other outdoor structures being covered with like this sooty black, fungus.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
it's been in the news.
Is it like the fumes that come from their production that are carrying?
No, this fungus feeds off of the sugar in those fumes and just grows.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, the whiskey peeps say that it's not dangerous and that it can be washed off, but they also refuse to ever help with any cost of pressure washing of houses or any other sort of cleanup. So I can't imagine
If you can't take them to court over it, they're not going to budge.
Well, they are trying some things.
Really? Do tell.
So, well, I can't imagine it's great for the trees and plants in the area because, photosynthesis, like, is it blocking that for them? But I'm no expert in that regard. The company also refuses to install air filters as it might affect the taste of the products they're making. So
the drunks don't care.
Some residents near the Jack Daniel's distillery have pressure washed the outside of their property with a mixture of water and bleach, only to have the fungus return a few months later.
Yeah.
One lady did get a temporary injunction in a lawsuit against them trying to build more barrel houses. But this has been a problem for residents near other distilleries and places inside and outside of the U.S. as well. I mean, it's not just a problem here. So there's another group of fungi that feeds on radiation. These are known as radiotrophic fungi. There are some bacteria and fungi that are considered extremophiles. We've talked a little bit about that.
Yes.
In which case they continue to grow in spite of the extreme environment around them, such as temperature, pH, or radiation. But in the case of radiotrophic fungi, they grow because of the radiation. They thrive on it.
That's amazing.
Okay? And that's what these are.
I think when we mentioned that last time, I mentioned a patient that I had a while back who retired from what's known as the Savannah River site.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me that they have discovered, I think he called it bacteria, but it's an organism that they've discovered in their nuclear waste. It is eating it. It's metabolizing it.
And I have done studies on SRS when I was in college. I was in a class called Biology of Pollution.
I remember that.
It was an interesting class.
I learned just as much as you did. Yeah. Every time you would come home from that class, I'd be like, what?
But there was a lot of thermal pollution, and that may seem like, what is that? But that's like dumping hot water into places it shouldn't be, so it's killing wildlife in those areas or whatever.
Yeah, they dump it back into a river, and it's 200 degrees hotter.
Yeah, it shouldn't be.
No, you're going to raise the temperature of the dadgum river.
And you're going to kill all the aquatic wildlife and such. But also, they dumped other things back in the day, which I think there's obviously regulations against that now. But before then, they were dumping stuff in the part of the report that I worked on. I was able to show that the animals in that area, the alligators and such, were larger in those areas. So now I couldn't prove if it's because of the pollution, but it was fun to look at. It was fun to be like, what's different about these places? Anyway, you actually, as a person who does not work for SRS, you actually, isn't in environmental science, you cannot go out there and check yourself because it is illegal to stop or really do anything except drive through the place.
That's right. It's a highway that goes down the southwestern side of that installation. And there are signs every so often that said no parking.
Yeah.
All that stuff. They're letting you know this is not a place to stop. Y'all keep on moving.
Yeah, you're not supposed to stop and move around and stuff. Now, some of these fungi have been found growing in the abandoned ruins of Chernobyl and the city around it, Pripyat. I know we went over Chernobyl in a different episode, and it has been
great episode.
It has been seen growing and reaching towards the radioactive graphite from the disaster. Other sources of attraction have been ruled out, so scientists are still learning the reason and biology behind this. Some of these fungi contain melanin, which is the dark-colored, naturally occurring pigments, which act as a sort of natural shield against radiation for the fungus. This melanin absorbs electromagnetic radiation and may even be able to metabolize it if what we understand is correct. So one such fungus is called Cladosporium spherospermum, and it has been found in the reactors at Chernobyl. There's been other ones there too that do similar things. This is just one of them.
It's wild.
These fungi have also been found in the cooling waters of working reactors as well, in other places, often turning the water black. Research from the Albert Einstein College of Medicine, which is just fun, has shown that there were at least 3 different melanin-containing fungi that increased in growth amount and rate when radiation levels were over 500 times higher than normal. So they just love this stuff.
That's incredible.
This is cool and may help with future space travel in the context of radiation there, space radiation. Before I forget to mention that there are also plastic-eating fungi, which is pretty great considering the amount of plastic that we have put out there.
Yeah, I've heard of genetic engineering of plastic-eating organisms in an effort to, make all the material that are dumped into inert landfills biodegradable, which would be fantastic.
Yeah. Pastylothiopsis, that's a big word.
You said that accurately.
It's a big word for elbow. Is a mushroom that was found in the rainforests of Ecuador in 2011 by some Yale students. So that's just like one example. But yeah, it takes time. It would take time to break down a lot of plastic, but it's pretty cool that it does that. Okay, zombie fungus.
Oh, I'm immediately interested.
Zombies. Okay, it's more insect zombie fungus because, such a fungus of this sort was discovered in 1859 by a British naturalist named Alfred Russel Wallace. A lot of The Last of Us fans may recognize this one, as I believe I've heard that the zombie infection in the storyline is similar to this one and maybe is even labeled the same name, cordyceps. But no worries, this does not infect humans yet. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. It does not infect humans. This, cordyceps is a genus of fungi that includes like 260 species around the world, most of which are in Asia. It likes those like hot, humid forests and stuff. It's parasitic to insects and other arthropods, and some are parasitic to other fungi as well. So basically, once infected, the insect's behavior is modified by the fungus. It's very strange and fascinating, to be honest, and kind of gruesome.
Yeah.
But the insect is made to move high and stabilize itself so that the fungus can fruit by erupting from the insect's body and spread spores intended to infect more insects.
Yep.
A split off of this genus, Ophiocordyceps, does the same thing, but seems to only target ants and is known as the ant zombie fungus. These are actually not the only fungi that do this, as there are other differing orders that parasitize insects. They all involve similar or differing mechanisms, so they're similar, but they're all a little bit different. But the intention is the same. Hijack the critter to feed off of, make them move to higher ground for the best spore tossing capability. It's honestly wild. Okay?
Yes. I think we both ran across a video on TikTok where a larger spider was just frozen in place. It was dead. It was a corpse. And the person who spotted it in the wild was explaining, and there was like a spile, or what would you call it? A protruding, like a miniature tower that just shot straight up out of the spider's body. And that's where the spores launched to find another insect to infect. It was wild.
Yeah. It's kind of gross, but here we are. Nature. But both cordyceps and Ophiocordyceps have been used in traditional Chinese medicine at some point. I'm not sure who saw this thing growing out of a carcass of some poor insect and was like, yeah, that looks good. Here we are. It seems scary smart, to be honest, the way these things work, because it will likely, through physical and or chemical manipulation at just the right moments. I mean, it has like specific timing. They've found that each of these different kind of fungi, like they have a timing that they go through with hijacking these insects. Like when to make them do this, when to make them do that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But they make the critter, such as an ant, seek out light at some point. The ants specifically will wander away from like the colony, which is extra smart considering that ants themselves are smart and will actually attack another ant if they think they may be infected. Like if they're acting weird, they'll be like, okay, you're gone. So they understand, they've come to understand that this is an issue and that there's a need to get rid of it. So yeah, but the ant, we're just using ants as a example. The ant will experience hyperactivity and more wandering as the fungus feeds and grows. Then near the end, the fungus will get it to climb some sort of vegetation to a higher place. This is called summiting. and get it to latch onto something to keep still while the fungus produces spore-bearing structures and erupt from its body and release spores.
Mm-hmm.
So various kinds of parasitic fungus have different rates of infection. For instance, Ophiocordyceps works over weeks instead of like instantly or anything, infecting the muscular system and growing through the ant's body. It saves the nervous system for last oftentimes, which is kind of cruel, but hey. Those that opt for a more chemical manipulation secrete fungal factors, which could act directly on the neural circuits that cause a certain behavior, or they could alter like upstream inputs to these circuits. It's very neurotransmittery by triggering pathways that ultimately result in those changed behaviors.
Yeah.
So they could also indirectly trigger behavioral responses through effectors such as metabolites, proteins, things like that. That impact the way the host moves and behaves. It's very chemical. There's been evidence of some kinds of parasitic mushrooms that secrete alkaloids, even like psilocybin and amphetamines. So there are different kinds, but same desire. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Now I want to talk about one more, and it's very short, but I thought it was cute and a sweet way to end it instead of just talking about parasitic fungi. Okay. I had to look up how to say this because I'm not from this area.
Okay. You get one chance.
Weddy weddy kokaku.
There's really no way for me to tell if you're doing it right.
Weddy weddy, yeah. Weddy weddy kokaku. This was actually named in the Maori language for the kokako bird because the coloring matches its wattle on the bird. It was actually said that the bird got its coloring from rubbing its cheeks on the mushroom. Like, it's just kind of lore. It's also known as the blue pink gill and sky blue mushroom. Its scientific name is Entoloma hochstetteri. These are native to New Zealand. You can see them like from January to July, which I think is their summer. Isn't that their summer? Like the summer's here. That's winter. There, it's warmer over there at that time of year because it's summer. New Zealand.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like
so,
they have Christmas in the summer.
Yeah, their summer and our summers are different because of the way the Earth works.
Yep.
Geography.
Heyo.
See? Okay. But these are as blue as the name implies. I'll show you a picture in just a second. It's really pretty. It's this like pretty indigo like blue color. The cap is like conical in shape. Honestly, it looks like a Smurf. Like a naked Smurf, I guess. Okay, that's going to be a weird image. It's actually featured on the New Zealand $50 note. So is that a 50-pound note or a $50 note? It said $50 on the thing. I
think they use dollars, but they're like Australian dollars, maybe.
Or New Zealand dollars. I think they have their own.
The listeners will tell us.
I think New Zealand has their own.
Do they?
Pretty sure they do. They're separate from Australia.
Okay.
There is a similar species in Australia as well as in India. The fun thing about this little blue mushroom is that while most Entoloma species are poisonous, with some causing severe GI upset, mood changes, depression, and headaches, and at least one, the livid, I think it's funny, they call it the livid pink gill, which is found in Europe and North America. It is livid. And that particular one is responsible for like 10% of all mushroom poisonings in Europe. That one can be reportedly deadly. But it's not known whether this little blue mushroom in particular is poisonous. So maybe let's not be the ones to test it.
We shan't.
So let me show you a picture of this. It's cute. Like it's super cute.
When we do video, it's possible you could pull your browser screen up on the screen so everybody can see it. Wouldn't that be fun?
Let me see.
Oh,
tell me
it looks like
a Smurf.
Yes. How about that? Okay.
So yeah. So
that's like a video game shade of blue.
So the moral of the story, don't
do that.
Don't do that. Don't clean up the mold and don't put things in your mouth, please.
Got it.
Ever. like just things you don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
Don't put Smurfs in your mouth.
Well, if you see a Smurf, call a doctor. Because that's not real.
That comes from a different poison. But yeah, that's what I have for you. I know it was a lot. There were just things I wanted to talk about that like may not have fit the other ones, like this little blue mushroom, but it was too cute to not talk about.
It's very cute.
It's very cute.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you all so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.